is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning into Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report. Florida State week is underway. Before we start talking about the Noles, we've got to deal with some residual stuff from the Notre Dame game and a little bit of fallout from some of the stuff Pat Narduzzi said following that game after we had our conversation with him, the first of Florida State week this afternoon at the practice facility on the south side. So let's get right into it. I mean, we still got to talk about those comments that he made after the Notre Dame game. Narduzzi, you know, those comments, the truncated and the full versions, were shared far and wide on Saturday night. Current and former players saw it, and it upset them. If you're watching this, I assume you've seen the quote and you've probably argued about it with someone either online or in person. And I'm not really here to give a take about the quote itself and the comments and the situation surrounding it. I did that on Saturday night in my post game report, but I don't really think it was a smart thing to say. I think that's what I'll say right now. And Pat Narduzzi evidently thought the same thing because he felt compelled to apologize for those comments. Those comments that essentially boiled down to him saying that the current roster is not good enough, that the players are not good enough. So what did he actually say in this press conference, in this apology? Well, he told us he apologized to the players, a process that began on the plane ride back to Pittsburgh and continued through Sunday night when the team had a full meeting, and then into Monday morning, he had some even more individual conversations with certain players. Narduzzi said the feedback was good, generally forgiving and positive, that the players understood where he was coming from, and didn't hold anything against him for that comment. That's what he told us. Narduzzi went on to underscore the importance of relationship with these players and so that he loves and believes in the guys in the locker room right now. He also said he hopes to be judged off, the past 8+ years of time as a head coach, during which, I'd even say he's gone over the top to unnecessarily defend and support players when he maybe didn't need to. Narduzzi himself cited how he handled the Phil Jurkovec situation earlier this year. Maybe not the best to me because he did eventually bench Jurkovec when he said he wasn't really into doing that. But I mean, you can point to other examples. I mean, Bub Means, Keaton Slovis, even Kenny Pickett. Like, I mean, people forget he was not very good. His freshman year, well, I wouldn't say his freshman year. His first year as a starter, I always get those mixed up. I guess that would be his redshirt freshman year. But then even his sophomore and junior years, I was not super impressed with Kenny. But then he comes back for 2021 and has this great year. But there are probably more guys that I can't think of off the top of my head that Narduzzi has gone out of his way to defend when maybe he didn't need to, or maybe these guys didn't really earn that with their play. But yeah, I don't think Pat Narduzzi has a reputation for throwing guys, or has made a habit of throwing his players under the bus, which I think makes this instance so different and so weird, quite honestly. But this is pretty much all the right stuff to say. I think as far as an apology goes, as far as the kind of public facing consequences of what he said, it was a pretty big disaster, in my opinion, on Saturday night to say what he said and then have it get out in the way that he did and get the reaction that it did from the players. I'll be interested to hear what the reaction is going to be like from the players, who I assume we'll talk to at least one or two of them, possibly more this week. A lot of them were very upset about it and were vocal about it. And so hopefully get a chance to ask them about it later this week. All right. It's kind of enough of Comment Gate. Is about the fourth dumb and controversial thing to happen in as many weeks with this team. I kind of ran through the list. I mean, Jurkovec getting benched, I mean, that wasn't really in the same category to me, but the tight end stuff came during the bye week. And then, during Louisville week, you have the blue vase, and then, Wake Forest, you have the slide controversy. And then this week we have Comment Gate. So, that all was fun. But now we've got some real football to talk about. So let's move on to talk about it. Starting with Gavin Bartholomew. Didn't get a target against Notre Dame. Not one. First time that's happened since week 2 of his freshman year. Malcolm Epps and Carter Johnson both had catches in this game, but Bartholomew couldn't even get looked at. Not one target. This is the guy that ranks 26th in the country in yards per catch. You'll notice some of the names he's ahead of. LSU's Malik Neighbors Washington's Rome Odunze, Texas A&M's Anaya Smith. These are guys who are like all American level players, if not all conference players in Power Five conferences. Bartholomew, when he touches the ball, he's more explosive than any of those guys. But for some reason, he was only on the field for 27 of 51 offensive snaps. And the explanation as to why that Narduzzi gave us didn't really make a whole lot of sense. He said that, they try to keep the tight ends fresh, especially when they're running so many routes, and the game plan called for a lot of passing. So they were rotating guys in and out. He also said they didn't run as much 12 personnel, and that limited the tight end snaps. Like I said, none of those really make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, Gavin's a starter. Gavin is your best tight end. He's got to be well conditioned enough to run a bunch of routes and be ready to do that. That's not really an excuse that to say that you're trying to keep him fresh. That shouldn't be a thing. Like I said, he should be conditioned enough to be a starter on this team. And if he's not, then he's not really deserving of that top spot in the depth chart. And then as far as 12 personnel, like, you didn't run 12 personnel, but you had plenty of sets with one tight end on the field. Gavin should be that one tight end. If you're limiting tight end snaps, that should be passed down the roster. That should be passed down the depth chart. Like, Johnson and Epps, I think they have some talent. I think Johnson especially can help this team in a lot of ways, but Gavin is your best tight end. You cannot afford to take him off of the field as much as you are right now. Again, Narduzzi seems to have realized that. He said they need to play him more. They need to get him the ball more, which should be music to Pitt fans' ears. Narduzzi said he had a phone call with Bartholomew earlier this morning. I'm recording this on a Monday. And he said, look, we're going to get you the ball more, and we're going to keep you on the field more. So be ready for that. My only concern is that we've heard this from Frank Signetti earlier in the year. Less definitive, I would say, but, yeah, we need to get Gavin the ball more. Yeah, we need to look his way more and get him more involved. And it didn't really happen. I guess it's more significant coming from the head honcho. But if the OC can't make that happen, I'm not sure how the head coach, who has admitted that he spends most of his time with the defense, I'm not sure how he could change that either. The other thing is that Christian Veilleux told us after the game that there's a lot that goes into who gets the ball on what play, play design, coverage, where they are in the progression, but also that there's sometimes he just plain missed Gavin. And so he's got to do a better job of that. So some accountability from the quarterback, a little bit of a recognition of the problem for the head coach, and we'll see how that plays out on the field. Speaking of quarterbacks, Pat Narduzzi did have an interesting quote, I thought, about the quarterbacks. I'll read it to you verbatim. This was an answer to a question from Jerry DePaula from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, who asked about the future of the quarterback room, just how it was built and how they're going to handle it moving forward. So I'll read this quote from Narduzzi. Quote, "I feel great with Christian. I feel great with Nate Yarnell. You saw how he performed when he got in there too. I said that back in camp. Each one of them will continue to grow every week. Is Christian where he is right now? Compared to where he was game one or fall camp, he's way ahead. I think every week he becomes more confident in what he's doing and how he's doing it. And every week he sees a different coverage or sees this or that and has a better feel of what he's got to do. It's only going to make him better. And I feel good with that quarterback room." To me, this was a pretty definitive vote of confidence in Veilleux as the starter moving forward, and just kind of the overall quarterback room. It was Narduzzi saying, "We are really comfortable with these guys. We aren't going to be looking," because it was a response to and the question very specifically was, you've reached into the transfer portal the past 2 years to take quarterbacks. Now that both of those guys were older, but now that you've got maybe some young talent in here, do you feel better? Thinking specifically about Christian Veilleux, do you feel better moving forward with the state of that room? And to me, this felt like a very big vote of confidence in Veilleux as the starter moving forward, and then of course Yarnell as well. I mean, Narduzzi clearly likes that kid. I think he's played well when he has played, and they seem pretty comfortable riding with those two into 2024. Maybe they pick up a transfer, but it seems pretty unlikely based off of this answer. It's been a lot of transferring the past 2 years. Jurkovec, Slovis. I mean, even throw Veilleux in there, but that was a little different from what Jurkovec and Slovis were. And I think they're trying to invest more in some quote unquote homegrown guys. Yarnell is particularly one of those. Ty Diefenbach. who just joined in the latest recruiting class. He's one of those guys as well. And I even think by the time Vayer's tenure at Pitt ends, we're going to think of him more as a Pitt guy than a Penn State guy, and we are going to be able to credit more of his development to this coaching staff than maybe his old one. So I think the state of the season seemed to have forced the coaching staff to be a little more future focused than they thought they would have to be going into the year. They'd have to run the table to even make a bowl game. So I think there is an inclination to look towards the future more publicly and do it more frequently without kind of apologizing or hiding from it like they have in years past, or excuse me, in weeks past. There was kind of a half in, half out idea of, well, we want to win now, and these moves we're making to put younger guys in are about winning now. We're not really looking towards the future. They said that pretty specifically about the move to bring Veyer in as the starting quarterback, and I think that might change a little bit. And I just kind of wonder how that will play out at other positions. I mean, you look at corner and especially, it's all seniors there who are playing right now, so they might need to throw one of these younger guys like Rylan Gandy or Tamarian Crumpley in just to see what they've got and to get these guys some experience before they presumably step up into much bigger roles next year. So we'll see how that ends up playing out in the field. We got a couple things to watch this week as we talk to players and some coaches and get ready for Florida State. But with that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks for tuning into another Inside Pitt Practice Report. Make sure to stay tuned through the end of the week. Like I said, like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers, and find all of our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And until next time, see ya.